Hi, everybody. So it's very exciting. Today, we are talking about the 2025 Oscars and particularly the animated Oscars. And we're asking the question, did the right film win? And I have done this series for every single year that the animated Oscars have existed. And I even did a couple of years where speculating that what would have been nominated if they'd had the award in years previous to the award. So I have a long playlist with all of these different videos. So you definitely want to check that out. It's interesting how the Academy evolves and changes because for so long it really was the Disney Pixar show. I mean, and granted, they were producing a lot of the best that was out there that it deserved to probably win, when you had your years with Wally and Incredibles and Finding Nemo and just some incredible animated films. But then there were other years where it was a little bit more suspect. Should Disney have really won? I really enjoyed Big Hero 6, but that was a strong year. Should that have won that year? Should Brave have won that year? What was the best animated film those years? So there's been some more sketchy years. So the last few years they've been a little bit more experimental in their winners, which is very exciting. We had Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, which had like a lot of darker themes and was just a little more artistic than some of the other films. And then they had The Boy and the Heron in 2024 for 2023 films, which was definitely different and beautiful. So this year they had films that were a little bit more dark, a little more thoughtful. Even the Disney film Inside Out 2 that they nominated, is dealing with anxiety and mental health, and it's like a little bit darker than some of the other years. And so it's a very interesting batch of films that they had, a group of nominees this year. And I just love to see the Academy really ever since Spider-Verse that they have been embracing more artistic, I think, animation and not always the most like crowd pleasing one. Of course, you had Encanto, you had some, but even Encanto had like some little bit more edgy kind of choices behind it with the grandma and with some other things that they decided to do. But let's talk about the 5 nominees this year and did I think the right film won? So let's start out with that Disney film, the Pixar film Inside Out 2. And Inside Out 2, I think, has a lot going for it in that I think that it gives parents and kids a lot to talk about. I think focusing on Riley and her friends was very smart. I think that's something everybody's going to relate to. The anxiety during that time of your life of who are my friends? Do my friends really like me? Changing friends. That happens so often during that time of life. I think that it's a bit unrealistic that Riley wouldn't have dealt with any puberty, any changes, anything at 12, that it would be such a shock for her. That I think she'd be a little more prepared if she was. There are some later kids, girls, 12 isn't like unheard of, but that I think by that point, some of the stigmas is gone with some of those things. Like she never even thought about like deodorant and, some of these things that I think by the time you're 12, those topics have come up, and even if you have not like started your period or there's different things at 12, it's kind of a lot of the stigma around it seems to be less. But nevertheless, I still think they got the overall like anxiety right, and that was the biggest hurdle that they had to climb for this movie. I do think that some of the emotions are redundant. Like I don't think you need embarrassment, fear, and anxiety. I feel like that's very similar, those 3 things. So it had its flaws, but overall, the emotions, which is a movie about emotions, the emotional journey of Riley and anxiety, it worked. And so overall, it worked, and it was funny enough and it was enjoyable enough. It was better than I was expecting. So maybe that helped that I had sort of low expectations. I don't know. But I did in the end like Inside Out 2. So then we have Memoir of a Snail, and this actually has an R rating and it earns its R rating. This is by animator Adam Elliott, and he did Mary and Max, which I really love. We have a whole episode of Obscure Animation about Mary and Max, and that movie also has some darker themes, but this really leans into the darkness. I mean, it is one of the most depressing anime films I've seen since like Grave of the Fireflies. I mean, this is just very cynical. It really doesn't give you much to like hang your hat on as far as like a hopeful story. There's a little bit at the end, but just like every turn is sort of depressing, and that it was a little much for me, I think. But I think it looks beautiful. The animation is great, and I think the cuteness of the animation helps for some of those darker themes. But I don't know, it just felt too cynical for me. It wasn't my favorite, but I did recommend it in the end. I certainly didn't hate it, but not my favorite.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
So then we have Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul. So this is our sequel to Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were Rabbit, and I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was really funny. I thought it did a good job of bringing back these characters, and I liked the story with the gnomes and the humor. I thought was really good. The animation was really good, and I think this was a lot better than the Chicken Run movie. And so I think I was a little bit nervous going in because the Chicken Run sequel was disappointing, and it was just a repeat of the previous film, except for this time they were going in to they're breaking in as opposed to breaking out, and but it was the same story. So it just was disappointing. It wasn't awful, but it was disappointing. This I think was a different story with different jokes and different humor, and I liked the penguin and everything. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. So that was a relief for it to be so good. Then we have Flow, and Flow is by director Gintz Zibilatos. And I actually got the opportunity to interview Gintz, which was super cool. And so it's kind of neat that I have interviewed an Oscar winner. That's very cool. And it's amazing what he was able to accomplish like with just a handful of people. It's kind of exciting that basically him and a few people that supported him made this movie that went up and competed with Pixar and Disney and DreamWorks. That's amazing. I love that that's a thing that can happen. It's so exciting, and that he did this all, on his like laptop. It's so cool. And I think that this movie is a very sweet movie. It's like beautiful dive into nature. It's very relaxing. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed that it is realistic in a sense. Like you do feel like you're in nature, you're in this rainforest, but it doesn't feel so real that you lose the artistry. It still felt like his unique voice, his unique style going on, which I really appreciated because I had really enjoyed his film Away. That's why I wanted to have him on the for an interview, because I'd liked Away so much, and so to get to see Flow and be so well received was very exciting, and I'm just so happy for him. He deserves it, and what an incredible artist, and a great film. It is a little long, I think. I think that this I don't know if this needed to be a feature. I think it could have been a short. I just don't know if there's enough story here. It could have been a short, but I still overall really enjoyed it. The beauty, the music, the cuteness of the animals, their journey, and what an artistic accomplishment. So then lastly, we have The Wild Robot. This was the DreamWorks entry going on here. And this was my favorite movie of last year. So obviously, I really loved it. I thought it was such a beautiful story about the power of nurturing, like that nurturing another person slash creature that can't help but change you, and it fundamentally changes the robot, and they become a new person even though they're a robot because of this experience. I found that so moving and well done, and I really appreciate that they didn't DreamWorksify it with like they have the fox that's the sidekick, but it's not in a way that feels like modern or like your comic sidekicks sometimes do. Like he felt authentic to this world and this story. And I just they could have tried to make this appeal more to kids and really kind of kidify it, but they didn't. They just trusted the material, and it's somber, but not so somber in the way of Memoir of a Snail, which Memoir of a Snail is an R-rated film. So I get it, but I just appreciated the balance of tone that this had so well, and it was so beautifully animated, gorgeous to look at, well voiced. I really loved the whole cast: Kit Connor, Pedro Pascal, Mark Hamill, great cast, and it was just a beautiful, moving journey of the power of nurturing, and I think that was great, and I like that they kind of had they didn't deny that the forest animals have their basic instincts. These aren't like in the sense of sort of Bambi of them like cutifying everything, which I love Bambi, but it was like they all mutually agreed to have a pause during this difficult time, and I appreciated that they took that into account. Like everything just felt very like honest and authentic and beautiful. So I love The Wild Robot. I thought it was really wonderful, and I do think that it would have been my choice for the best animated film of the year. So I guess in that sense, I think yes, the wrong film won, because I think The Wild Robot was better than Flow. But I was thrilled that Flow won, because I do think that's an excellent film. And I'm just so happy for Gintz. And I think that it's a great thing for the Academy to be supporting these smaller releases and these smaller films and artists. And what an exciting time to be an animation fan and to be loving the medium so much, because it's such a bold time for animation with bold voices, and we're just waiting for like basically Disney to step it up and match the creativity that we're seeing from some of these independent producers and some of these other studios. We're waiting for Disney to catch up with it, because it's such an exciting time to be an animation fan. And I'm so happy the Academy is recognizing that and supporting animators like Gintz and Flo. I think it's great. I have no issues with it winning, even though I probably would have picked The Wild Robot. So that's my thought on this year's animated Oscars. Let me know what you think in the comment section or on Twitter. Is there a movie that you would have nominated over one of the nominees? I would love to hear that too. And please like this video. Please subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate that. If you are on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. Really appreciate that. And we're almost at 5K subscribers. So the closer that we can get would be very exciting on YouTube. So again, please like this video, please subscribe to the channel, and check out the Patreon group. That's the biggest way you can support everything I'm doing. And I try to make it really worth your while. I have Q&As from talent, writers, directors, actors that are really fun, going to be a part of. And then we have our Facebook group. We have bonus episodes. I just try to make it worth your while to support the podcast. And then we have the merch store where you can get tons of fun movie inspired designs. So check that out. You can hashtag animation junkie shirts on there. I'm an animation girl. Check that out. And thanks again. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye.